Hi, everyone. Welcome to Stogie Geeks Shorts, Padron Family Reserve. I'm your host, Paul Asadorian, joined on the lines via Skype by Will Cooper. Welcome, Will.
Hey, Paul. How's it going today?
It's going fantastic. I'm very excited to talk about the Padron Family Reserve line of cigars. They're some of my most favorite cigars from an awesome company. And they represent some of the, I think, really most awesome flavors that you get out of a cigar. I mean, when you smoke them, there's no mistaking that it's a Padron Family Reserve cigar, and that it's a very special experience. And ever since they were released, they've kind of been near and dear to my heart. Very highly recommended from people like Stogie Santa, Mr. Paul Joyle, have carried these for a long time. So they've been a part of my cigar smoking experience ever since I can remember.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about these cigars is they stimulate great discussion, not just from year to year, but because of the Padron model of natural and Maduro. Within each year, you get that dynamic of natural versus Maduro. So I think it's always been a very, very good conversation piece for cigar enthusiasts.
I'm smoking the Padron 44th Natural right now, Will. And I have to say I'm rating it much higher than I did when I reviewed it for the Stogie Geeks show. This cigar is awesome. It has this awesome sweetness that is persisting throughout that is just absolutely fantastic. So why don't we start with the 44th? Will, I'm going to kind of rely on you for some of the background. I know I've read about some of the background. I've talked with people about the background. I don't necessarily remember all the details, but I know you're like cigar encyclopedia, so you probably remember some of those details as to what the numbers denote and things like that.
Yep, no problem. So the line Family Reserve was a line that it's an annual release in terms of production, but there's been various annual releases that have differed. So it was launched in 2008 with, as you mentioned, Paul, the number 44. And the number 44 was significant because 2008 was the 44th anniversary of the company. It came out in a torpedo, which is a
6x52.
6x52 in natural Maduro. And the plan was they were going to each year come out with a different family reserve, going up to 2014, which would be the 50th anniversary of the company. So they would sequentially continue those in order with that. And the idea is this is some of the best tobaccos that the Padrones have had available. And so there was going to be a limited production. But in 2009, it would follow a 45th and so on and so on. Then it took a little different road, as we'll talk about when we get into these.
Yeah, and I have to say, the limited aspect of this, I like the quote from the last show we did was that every cigar is limited. I think it was Steve Saka that said, well, every cigar is limited in some capacity, which he's absolutely right. But the Padron Family Reserve series is pretty readily available, even going back to the 44th. I mean, I can go next door and buy a Padron 44th Natural, so...
Yeah, and the 44th, I think, believe it or not, is still the most expensive, and I think you're looking close to $30 for that cigar.
Yeah, I think it was 32 was the list on it, I want to say, and then a member discount at the Havana Cigar Club probably got it down to 29 or so.
Yeah, I have probably the 44th. I mean, I know a lot of people love it. It's probably not my favorite of it, but it's a very, very good cigar.
Yeah, it hasn't been my favorite either, but this Natural is really impressing me, so...
Yeah. No doubt, Natural takes. I think we're in agreement. The Natural definitely has the edge with that one.
Yeah, with that specific one. Yeah, and you kind of can go back and forth. And I would say, if you're watching or listening to this segment, they're all good. You should try them all in the Natural and Maduro wrapper. Pick a point in time where you want to buy a special cigar that is in the $25 to $30 price point. You're not going to go wrong with this series, which is why I wanted to spend a little time talking about it. Okay, so now the 45th was obviously the 45th anniversary of the company, and this is a 6x52 box press Toro, and it came in the Natural and Maduro. This one I like better in the Maduro. In fact, I recently bought a box of these to have on hand for special occasions. I smoked one last week, and it's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, if it's not, it is pretty close to Oasis, Will.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is the 2009 release, which really became the iconic. This is the one that captured Cigar Aficionado's Cigar of the Year, which for it was kind of ironic because in 2008 they went with the inexpensive Casa Magna, which was
Yes.
their Cigar of the Year, and then they followed up with this one, which is again something you're looking in the upper 20s, that was much less readily available. That took it, but I don't think anyone argued with this selection at the
Hmm.
time, and it was the Maduro. And again, I'm in agreement with you on that. The Maduro is a fantastic cigar. And I would say is you're going into a cigar store and you don't know a lot about cigars. If you mention this cigar in the Maduro and even the natural, and then I find the naturals of these are harder to find too. But if you
Yes.
get this cigar in the Maduro, you are not going to disappoint someone with this
Yep.
cigar.
It's a strong
I've never heard
cigar
anyone.
too. I
Yeah,
find the 45th Maduro to be pretty strong.
yeah, I mean that would be the only thing I'd say. If someone doesn't like a mild cigar, don't. If they like mild and they don't like strong, don't give them that cigar.
Right. Oh, do we have a picture of the 44th and the 45th? We can put those up on the screen. I thought I had a pretty. That's the 50th. Thought I had a pretty good picture of at least one of those. That might be the 45th right there. I can't tell from a distance.
There is a 45th with. It looks like it's taken from the back room at Mr. J's.
Yeah, that's not the 45th.
Someone.
That's probably the 46th. Yeah, that's the 45th Maduro taken at Mr. J's. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I started smoking them, you know? So, yeah, pretty cool picture.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, now on to the 46th Family Reserve. This one was a slightly different size, 5.5 by 56 Gordo. It's kind of a rounder box press. The 45th has a very square box press to it. The 46 is a rounded kind of. It is box pressed a little bit, but it's way more rounded on the edges.
Yeah, in fact, when I first saw it, I almost thought it was a Parejo. I mean,
Yes, yes, yeah. It's very slight box press. You're right, Will.
Yeah.
That's the 45th up there. Looks like another picture from Mr. J's. The 46 is really good. I prefer this one in the Maduro as well. I had a box of these that I used for a special event, and I impressed all my friends by giving them select people this cigar. So it's near and dear to my heart. 46 Maduro is awesome.
This is the most misunderstood one of the series. For whatever reason, I know me and you have talked a lot about this cigar, and we give it love. But for whatever reason, this one's been, I'd say, the one that it's kind of been the ugly stepchild. And I'll admit, when it came out, it did need a little time, but it was a great cigar.
Yeah.
Really, and it is a great cigar. It actually has some very good aging potential with it.
I find
I like it.
the naturals too. Well, I find have a lot more spiciness to them, and I find that in the regular 26 line as well.
Interesting. I kind of gravitate with this one more towards the Maduro with it.
Yeah.
With this one, but again, solid cigar, and don't let the 56 ring gauge fool you because the box it does have a slight box press.
It doesn't smoke like a big ring gauge.
Yeah, so even though it's slightly rounded, as you said, it's going to smoke much smaller with that.
Okay, so now, I mean, ideally we should be talking about the Padron number 47, but what happened to 47? In 40,
that was it.
In 48 and 49.
They screwed me up because I was smoking these on my birthdays, right? From my 44th birthday was actually about it's like about 3 years off, let's say. But so they went and when they came out this one in 2011. They called it the number 85. And the reason why they called it the number 85 was it was a milestone for Jose O. Padron, the patriarch of the family. It was his 85th birthday. So they made a decision to come out with this cigar and call it, instead of a 47, they called it the 85th. And it's a 5.25 by 50 cigar.
Yeah, we have a picture of that one that's up there now. That is the 85th Maduro. And when these first came out, the Maduro especially, super strong. Wow, is that cigar a powerhouse? I think with a little time, those cigars definitely got a little better with age. However, I went back and I tried the natural in this 85th, which is also somewhat hard to find. It was especially harder to find in the beginning. The natural is just awesome. In fact, I bought a box of the naturals and I smoked through the entire thing in the past year. That's how much I
Really,
like the 85th natural.
I have to revisit the natural. I wasn't a
Really,
huge fan
I
of
smoked
it
a
when
whole
it came
box of
out.
them.
Yeah, no, that says a lot too, because we're usually pretty close on that. I do this cigar. Actually, I'll say this. This is actually one of the more inexpensive cigars on the line. I think you can get into these cigars for about $20 to $21.
Yeah, it is a smaller cigar than all of the previous three.
Yeah, it's a safe size. It's a box press Robusto you're gonna get. And I kind of remember that. I remember when that came out at the trade show too, and
Mm-hmm.
it just seems like it was yesterday. It's already 2000. It's 4 years ago it came out.
And the final one we're going to talk about now, there are other Padron special releases that we'll reserve for a future episode. I was trying to keep it just to the Family Reserve. This is in fact the 50th Padron Family Reserve, which was released. Was it released at IPCPR or before? It was before IPCPR. This one hit the market.
It was released at the 2014 IPCPR.
Okay, it was 2014.
And they took 3 years off.
Mm-hmm.
And when we interviewed George Padron, he honestly said, you know what, he didn't want to feel forced to come out with a blend for the sake of coming out with a blend, and I think he wanted to build up for the 50th. This shouldn't be confused. These cigars should not be confused with the special Humidor 50th anniversary cigar. This is the Family Reserve number 50.
It is confusing. Yeah, different cigars.
This is a more readily available production that you're going to get of these.
Yeah, and again, it's natural Maduro, and it's a 5x54 Robusto, so it's a very different size than all of the rest. Size-wise, it's very distinct in the line.
Yeah,
actually, they're all pretty distinct sizes in the line. They are all very different sizes, but this one is your more traditional Robusto format, which is. And they're good. I think they could benefit from some age. I smoked these in both the natural and the Maduro. I really like them. This is one that I would let rest for a little while before I smoked it again. So I would probably say this is still, as it hits the market today, a box worthy. I think, as with all these cigars, they will go up to fight Chuck Norris or even Oasis with a little bit of age on them.
the one thing that I think was interesting about this release, usually there is this battle of Maduro versus natural, and it's either split or more in favor of the Maduro. This is my unofficial survey. It just seems like the natural got a lot more love in this one.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's just my unofficial sign. And if I'd encourage anyone watching this to disagree with me and say I'm crazy, but that was my perception too. I was a little more in favor of the natural.
Yeah, it's tough to find your favorites, but if you want a special cigar, I think one of the goals of this Stogie Geek Shorts episode was to introduce everyone to the Family Reserve line. And if you do see them in your local shops, to definitely, pick one up, try one, figure out which one you want to try. You really can't go wrong natural Maduro, and through all 5 of these different cigars are extremely special. They're great smokes, and I encourage everyone to try one if you're in the mood to spend a little more on a cigar and get something special. They all smoke pretty slow, too. You're going to get some serious smoking time out of all of these as well, especially the 45th. The 44th, in my opinion, smokes a little quicker, but the rest of them tend to have a really slow burn, so you're going to get some good smoking time out of them. You're going to get your money's worth.
Yeah, and they're great. Save them for a day you're really going to be relaxed. I don't want to say it doesn't have to be a special occasion, but day you relax and can really savor that cigar.
I agree. Well, thanks, Will. That concludes this episode of Stogie Geeks Shorts. Make sure you check us out on Thursday nights from 8:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time when we do the Stogie Geek Show, and subscribe to all of our feeds so that you can watch the Stogie Geek Show, Stogie Geek Shorts, and Stogie Geeks News. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.